Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of congregational humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, hello. Okay. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Society on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning. We've had some storms, so it's nice to see the sun out. As you may know, my name is Amos Lucidi, and I'm the collaborative pianist here at First Unitarian. And today I will be playing the three musical selections and playing some of the songs that we will be doing together. So, I was thinking about this, and of course with yesterday being 4th of July, and what could I bring musically? And I thought this interesting thought I had is, composers who were not originally from the United States, but that moved to the United States and influenced a lot the musical landscape, the culture, and even the way of writing of many other composers. And also they were influenced by the music that they saw here. And I thought this would be a nice kind of theme, when we think about who is American, right? Or who we regard as American. So the three composers I chose, they're quite well-known names, but I thought their stories are still quite compelling to me and how they related to the United States at least as a cultural landscape. The first one is going to be Antonin Dvorak. So Dvorak, and this is probably a part that is not so well known. When he got to the United States, he was actually very interested in the music that he heard from African Americans, and he was actually very influenced in his musical style, but what they were composing. And I want to say, likewise, on the other side, American composers draw a lot of influence from him. So he's really one of the, I think, first kind of big figures to draw from the musical tradition of the States and also influence it. The second composer I chose is Bela Bartok from Hungary, thank you. From Hungary, and he spent basically from half of his life until his death in New York, and he's a vanguard composer. I chose maybe two more traditional pieces by him, two of the very well-known Romanian folk dances, but still, they show all the things that he did in composition, and he was so influenced, especially for the more vanguard composers. And I'm going to finish with a Russian composer, Sergei Rachmaninoff, who also moved to the United States during the Russian Revolution. And when I think, especially if we think about all the music that has been made for movies, in Hollywood, we cannot think about but a very strong influence from Sergei Rachmaninoff. So anyway, those are the three composers I will present today. I hope you will enjoy it.
Well, welcome again. Thank you, Amos, for your wonderful welcome, but welcome from me to First Unitarian Society. And I want to echo what an amazingly gorgeous summer Sunday morning this is. So I want to welcome each of you, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever your pronouns, however you identify, whoever you love, whatever is breaking your heart right now, present in body in this space, present in this moment with us online, you are welcome here. It's good to be together on this holiday weekend and to gather together as a community of seekers in this place where we commit ourselves to live out our common values, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, safety, and justice for all beings. And we are here together on this magnificent land that is the cultural, spiritual, and indigenous homeland of the Dakota Iote. We offer gratitude to them and to all the peoples who have cared for and continue to care for this land where we now make our home. Let us pledge ourselves to work for reconciliation and reparative relationships. This is work we need to commit to no matter what. First Unitarian Society is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and I am Shelley Schreffler, a member of FUS, and I use she, her pronouns. I am joined this morning by FUS members Phil Duran, Mikki Morrissette, and Polly Peterson, who will share reflections on the Declaration of Independence, that bold, aspirational statement that turned 250 years old yesterday. How have we as a nation achieved, or have we yet to achieve, the vision embedded in that document? If you happen to be new with us this morning, please join us for our weekly mini meal in the lower assembly hall after the service. And if you'd like to connect more, please stop by the office to sign up to receive our newsletter so that you can be in the know about what's happening around here. We are a multi-generational community, and today is another summer Sunday field trip. Our youth are across the street at the Thomas Lowry Park. Youth of all ages are welcome, but please stop by the front office for more information and for permission slips. And next Sunday, FUS is excited to welcome the Bakken Museum for their first workshop in a 4-week chemistry residency. So join teaching assistant Sarah Sage and Bakken Museum educators from 10:30 to 11:30 in the Chalice Room. Zola will be away, but accessible by text and email. These workshops are designed for middle schoolers, but open to youth of all ages. And of course, there's always room for families and kids here in the Assembly Hall. We welcome your movements and your sounds, and if you want, childcare is available down the hall and to the left as you exit the space. So now I invite you, wherever you are, to take a moment to welcome the morning and to greet those around you and introduce yourself to those you don't know. And you can wave to the camera to greet those online. And I'd like to give a special shout out this morning to the members of the UU Fellowship of Ames, Iowa, who are joining us virtually this morning, including... And especially warm welcome to Reverend Kelly Clement, who many of us know. So there's also there is a QR code on the screen to access an order of service. And we'll be using the gray songbook in case you'd like to get a copy from the back. So welcome, everyone. This morning's opening words are from Reverend Peggy Clark, Senior Minister at Community Church of New York in New York City. Her essay is entitled, "Equality in a Sea of Inequality." When this country was founded, the aspiration was high. The men who imagined it dreamed big, casting a vision of a world where all men were created equal, where rights were endowed by our Creator, transcending culture and the expectations of the day, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be allowed and enjoyed without infringement. It was a radical and new vision, born from Enlightenment optimism, inspired by scientific discovery. It was an intoxicating vision, as bold as the Protestant Reformation that swept all of Europe. And they had the hubris to believe that they could make it happen. They staked their claim in the Declaration of Independence and institutionalized it in the Constitution. They elected their first president, and when he stepped down, relinquishing power to return to the role of citizen, those founders believed they had lived to see their vision realized. A new president ran for office, and the republic was up and running. It was done. A new world order. Those men weren't distracted by the genocide they inspired or the enslavement of other people that required for this nation to be born. They declared equality while swimming in a sea of inequality. When they declared all men were created equal, they meant white Protestant men. They didn't mean women. They weren't including black people who'd been enslaved or those who were free. They didn't include Catholics, Jews, or people who didn't own land. They were so proud of their inclusivity, so inspired by their own cutting-edge philosophy, that they had no idea how narrow it was, how constrictive, how small a vision. Those men who wrote these words were calling into being a more perfect union. They were establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, securing the blessings of liberty. They believed that they and the men of their generation would will this new nation into being. They would test it, and then it would be done. They didn't realize it would require many more people, many different voices. They didn't know how many generations would have to be part of the creation of that dream, how long it would take before the nation they imagined would be made manifest. The soul of America has yet to be born. So each week when we gather, we light our chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We are led by its light, inspired by its flames, and drawn together by its warmth. We often light our chalice using words expressing our values and aspirations, and today we'll use words by Ben Sewell entitled, "Making Aspirations Real." As Jackie lights the flame, please join me in reading the words on the screen. We light this chalice, the symbol of our faith, knowing that this morning many others across this land and around the world are doing the same. For us and for our far-flung kin, it is a light of peace, of justice, and of love. But without work, these aspirations flicker out as soon as the candle is extinguished. Let us all join together to accept the challenge of doing the hard work that makes these aspirations real. While our chalice flame is lit in our hearts, in this space, and wherever we are gathered, let us speak our congregational covenant together. Guided by love, we gather in community to serve with joy and compassion, to seek wisdom and meaning, to cherish our differences, to care for others and our planet, and to build a just and peaceful world. So our first song is Lift Every Voice and Sing, which we sang a few weeks ago with Brass Solidarity, for those of you who were here. So it's often referred to as the Black National Anthem. Lift Every Voice and Sing was a hymn written as a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900. His brother John Rosamond Johnson composed the music, and the song was first sung as part of a celebration of President Abraham Lincoln's birthday at a segregated public school in Jacksonville, Florida. Its powerful lyrics beautifully trace the resilience, struggle, and hope of African Americans, and was officially adopted by NAACP in 1919, and was prominently used as a rallying cry during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 60s. So now I invite you to stand in body or in spirit as Paul leads us in singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is 149 in the Gray Songbook, and the words will be on the screen.
So this is a song that in some ways feels like a march, but it's definitely not a dirge. It's a celebration, it's meant to be exuberant, but there is a little section there that's a little tricky, so I just want to go over it real quickly. There's a place with 3 triplets in a row, and it goes da 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 da, and then repeats that again. So that's the second half of the words up there that start with "Sing a Song." So Amos is going to play that for us, and let's just sing those 2 phrases, just so that we have that again. So, sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Excellent, excellent. We just did that trippingly. All right, so we'll go back to the beginning.
Let us rejoice. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Bless our feet straight from the places of God where we met thee. Bless our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy may we forever step true to our God, true to our native land.
First Unitarian Society is a congregational humanist community. As we journey together, we choose to care for each other, our neighbors, and our planet. One manifestation of that is our caring team. My name is Karen Rowell, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of this team. Joy and sadness, celebration and hardship, they coexist along life's path. If at any time you need some support, or would like a visit, or if there's something happening in your life that you'd like to share with the care team or with this community, please call the FUS office, send a note using the QR code on the screen, or click on the link that's provided in the Friday Update newsletter. We are here for you. Today we share a joy from Val Garber. She retired this week from West Publishing Thomson Reuters after more than 40 years of service. She looks forward to having some more time to read, bike, and volunteer. Congratulations, Val. I invite you now to speak into this space those names, be they near or far away, that we may all hold them in love.
Ukraine. Venezuela.
I will include my son Duncan in that. After the assembly, you're invited to stop by the card basket downstairs to send a note to folks you're thinking of today. We'll put them in the mail for you. Now let's take some quiet time to breathe, to connect with our shared humanity, to feel the solid earth beneath us, and to remember that we are not alone. May all those we love and all beings everywhere be at peace. A moment of silence.
So 250 years ago, after years of increasing oppression on the part of the British government towards American colonists, members of the Second Continental Congress adopted a resolution that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. A committee of 5, chaired by Thomas Jefferson, was appointed to draft the Declaration of Independence, with Jefferson acting as the primary author. Jefferson borrowed freely from existing documents, and he later explained that he was not striving for originality of principle or sentiment. Instead, he hoped his words served as an expression of the American mind. On July 2nd, 1776, Congress voted to declare independence, and 2 days later, it ratified the text of the Declaration. Reverend Jacqueline Brett, lead minister of the Eno River UU Fellowship of Durham, North Carolina, pointed out that our founding fathers were inspired by what already existed among the indigenous people of the region, mainly the Iroquois Confederacy, who were already living under their declared democratic principles and practices of collective decision-making, individual rights, and community responsibility and democratic governance. It was actually their model that inspired the rhetoric and ideals that America was founded upon. Brett remarked that she felt this was the ultimate act of misappropriation. So this morning, Phil, Mikki, and Polly will offer reflections on aspects of this bold, aspirational document and the associated Bill of Rights of the Constitution. Let me begin by reading the introduction and first sentence of the preamble. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separation and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impels them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
When I began my 50s nearly a decade ago, I set a goal for myself of having at least one adventure every year, which meant I would travel someplace new and preferably someplace that had some sort of special meaning. It worked, and I found myself traveling to all parts of the country. And as the decade wore on, I realized I was within striking distance of seeing all 48 contiguous states, and I thought, well, why not? And so I began taking trips in the past couple of years, really just so I could cross the remaining states off my list. Last year, with a few states to go, I looked at the map and saw that 5 of these states were all kind of clustered together. I could do a road trip, perhaps. The challenge for me was which states these were. Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. None was a state I would have considered visiting if not for this dumb goal. I really just associated them with bigotry and backwardness. Maybe not fair, but that was the case. Nonetheless, I set this goal, and as Eleanor Roosevelt said, you must do something every day that scares you, and I thought, well, this counts. But I realized that I could organize this trip around a theme of civil rights, because in each of these states there were locations where something momentous had occurred in that arena. If I could focus on those things, it would make this entire trip workable. And so with that, last month, I set out. I started in Birmingham, at a small park downtown, the Kelly Ingram Park. Now, if you don't recognize the name, this was the site that became infamous in the 1960s as where Bull Connor, the local law enforcement chief, attacked peaceful protesters who were trying to march to City Hall, attacking them with vicious dogs and water cannon to prevent them from being able to complete their march. The morning I was there, it was a very pretty park, very quiet, not many people walking around, But you knew that this was a place of memory because it was packed with monuments to the events that had occurred there, events which shocked the conscience of the nation. Kitty corner from the park, by the way, is the 16th Street Baptist Church, which also became infamous in 1963. It was the location of a bombing that tore through the building and killed 4 young women who were in the basement. It's still an active congregation in a beautiful building, which holds the memory of that attack. After Birmingham, I went to Montgomery, which is the home of a location called the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, a memorial to the thousands of African Americans who were lynched in the 19th and 20th centuries, primarily down south, but in a number of states throughout the Union, including Minnesota. These killings typically occurred with the connivance, if not open support, of local authorities. In this outdoor memorial, it's a little hard to describe, but what you find as you go in, you're surrounded by these vertical, metal, three-dimensional rectangular objects that are suspended from just above your head. And you're walking among them, and each one of these objects is engraved with the name of a county and a state where lynchings occurred, and beneath them, the names of the people who were victims and the dates on which these events took place. There are hundreds of them. As you walk through the memorial, these objects continue to be suspended from above, but the path you're walking on keeps going down and down, so that as you walk through it, it appears that these objects are getting higher and higher. And by the time you wind up at the end, each one of them has come to represent, in a very stylized way, a body hanging from a tree. It was very powerful. From Alabama, I made my way through a corner of Mississippi, enough said, on my way to Memphis. In Memphis, my goal was the Lorraine Motel, which, as you may know, is the location where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in April 1968. Perhaps like many of you, over the years I had seen the iconic picture of King on the balcony of that hotel among his colleagues. And then in a photo taken moments later, King is no longer visible, and the colleagues are standing there pointing in the direction of where the assassin was stationed across the street. I was standing just feet away from where this unbelievable event had occurred. It's a location that is marked still by a large wreath, and they've left 60s-era cars parked in the parking lot just below that balcony as well. You even had the opportunity to look into the room where King had just been in before walking onto that balcony. It was incredibly moving. From Memphis, I headed west to Little Rock. The neighborhood around the Little Rock Central High School was quite quiet. It was a Saturday afternoon, very sunny, quite warm. The building is beautiful. I learned that the school had opened in the late 1920s, and at the time it received national media attention as being the most expensive and fancy high school in the country. 30 years later, of course, it was the site of massive demonstrations in support of state-sanctioned segregation in that high school, among countless others, and where the United States military had to be deployed in order to escort 9 young students into that building, simply so they could go to school. There's a visitor center nearby where you can see pictures and listen to recordings of the kinds of things that were said and done to those young people in 1957. And it was, to say the least, sobering to be reminded that these were people who look a lot like me saying and doing those things. From Little Rock, I completed my journey by getting over to Tulsa. In the early 20th century, Tulsa was the home of the Greenwood neighborhood, referred to as Black Wall Street. It was a successful African-American community where people thrived and businesses were successful. In 1921, white people who lived in that city turned a misunderstood incident into an excuse to destroy the neighborhood. Block after block of businesses and homes were torched. People were terrorized. And even though this was plainly an attack by white people on black people, very quickly the entire affair was blamed on the black victims. The city rounded up black people for their safety, it was said, and kept them in camps for a while. They could be released if they proved that they were working. I was shocked to see the violence and imagine all that had happened. In going to all of these sites, I gained a degree of insight that I hadn't had before into how deep and how broad and how imposing the edifice of Jim Crow segregation truly was, and how many different ways it played itself out in this country, founded on an idea that all of us are created equal. I gained a newfound respect for the people who stood up against it, a profound respect for the African Americans of Tulsa who overcame the hostility of the government, gathered what was left, and rebuilt their community. I was surprised to learn that the glory days of that neighborhood actually were yet to come. I came to appreciate how strong and how courageous those 9 high school students in Little Rock had to be to withstand the vitriol and the violence and the ostracism that was directed at them and their families and their communities for years to come, not just by neighbors, but by the system itself. I came to further appreciate the incredible leadership and vision of Martin Luther King in leading an incredible, successful movement to fight back against the legal system of segregation, a system previously upheld by the highest court in the land. I was incredibly moved to think about what it must have been like in Montgomery for Rosa Parks and others who refused to give up their seats on a city bus, divided as a matter of law. And in Birmingham to imagine the strength of those residents, particularly young people, who simply wanted to march to City Hall to demand an end to the injustice and what they had to face in order to do that. I knew all of these things from reading history books and seeing documentaries on TV, but to actually physically be there, to be there in the very locations where these events occurred, left an impression no textbook could convey. The idea set forth in the Declaration of Independence that we're all created equal was a dream that was not fully realized for so many people for so long. It is a dream that has yet to be fully realized, as every day's news reminds us. Perhaps at some point we'll get there. What my little driving tour through the South reminded me was that, then as now, the government itself frequently was a part of the problem, and that if there is to be progress in terms of making this idea a reality, that progress is going to come from everyday people, from all walks of life, people like us. It's going to happen on the buses, the congregations, the parks, the schools, the neighborhoods. It's going to happen because these communities will preserve the history of what good work has been done and will continue to inspire us to keep pushing on. I went down south apprehensive and skeptical. I came home inspired. Instead of bigotry and backwardness, I was reminded of the courage and commitment of people who put it all on the line to move this country forward. Rather than paying attention to whatever nonsense is taking place in Washington this weekend, heading south allowed me to connect with the story and people who truly embody the kind of ideals this country was originally founded on. This is the story I want to celebrate. Why did I wait so long to make this visit?
preamble continues that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
So, as we, the people of this country, we can withhold our consent. Government today is destructive, as we easily see with ICE agents in our cities. If we decide a new foundation with principles and reorganized powers that improve our safety and happiness is our right to establish, what might that look like? I'll borrow a few ideas today from some of the people I've featured recently at the Minnesota Women's Press website. Unfortunately, we can no longer afford to print 10,000 free copies, including the stash I normally brought here to First Unitarian Society. But this is some of what is in the print magazine that we sent to members who are paying opt-in members to get the magazine. We mailed those last week. Amy Stager, for example, is a labor writer who provided a commentary for our 250 years issue this month. She wrote, "Increasingly, we see evidence of the CEOs, tech lords, and billionaires who profit off the work done by people who struggle to pay for food, fuel, and a safe space for family to live. Whose freedom is that? Jobs are threatened by artificial algorithms. Ongoing payments for insurance deny us coverage to a dwindling access to health centers. Whose freedom is that? Young adults are sinking under a mountain of debt from post-secondary training and degrees. Our air and water are filled with toxins from consolidated farms and incinerators. Whose freedom is that?" She continued, "Yes, this is a depressing picture of ongoing exploitation and extraction that has always shaped our country. Yet as we know, Minnesotans also show what true freedom might actually be. Life-giving connections and networks, especially visible in the grip of crisis impacting our neighbors and us. A world where we don't have to fight to live is at our fingertips. We shouldn't have to fight for it, but we do, and we must." One basic principle Amy suggested: change our policy about how we tax the wealthy. As she wrote, if the wealthiest 1% paid taxes consistently, the way the rest of us do, and paid workers livable wages, we wouldn't need government safety nets or philanthropic mutual aid. We could feed and house and care for everyone who labors for those profits. The Guardian News pointed out recently that there are 32 billionaires who owe their wealth to low-wage corporations, including 8 billionaires from Walmart and 3 from DoorDash. Starbucks has the largest gap in pay, with a CEO compensated $95.8 million, while his company's employees average $14,674. Consumers, as well as the governed, can withhold their consent. Another suggestion Amy pointed out is a narrative change we can all be part of. Quote, "The propaganda many people seem to have bought into is that it is the lower classes, not the upper classes, who are leaving us hungry. Too many of our neighbors seem to be ignoring the fraud perpetrated at the highest levels." Stacey Abrams of Georgia was in town recently to talk at a Women Winning event. She said another important step for all of us is to engage the 90 million Americans who skipped the election in 2024. She said, quote, "They're not apathetic, they're despondent. because they live in communities that never change. We know the solutions people have pointed out that would be impactful in the long run. For example, in 1963, President Kennedy's Presidential Commission on the Status of Women released a report recommending national paid maternity leave, greater access to education, and support for child care. That was more than 60 years ago. And to that list, I would add the work by advocates over the many decades to better address housing affordability and gender-based violence. Such little movement needs unified public pressure that we can more emphatically give our consent to. Our founding humanist minister, John Dietrich, recognized 100 years ago from the growing field of psychology that putting people into jail without rehabilitation efforts does nothing lasting to deter crime. I met recently with a group of young people in Loring Park who are involved in restorative justice to divert people at the front end of trouble before they get more entrenched in the wrong activities. We could proactively ask for that more emphatically too. I've learned from a few people lately about all the far-right anti-immigrant rhetoric that happens globally. One of them, Sophia Benet of France, reminded people at the recent National AFL-CIO convention in Minneapolis that saying that we are against something is not enough. Quote, "We have to offer strong alternatives to win hearts and minds, otherwise it is empty values." She encapsulated the sentiment of many labor organizers, quote, "While they are trying to turn the clock back, we are building unity." I met wonderful rural women organizing around candidates and issues at an event in the woods of Aiken County. I'll be writing soon about their frustrations about how some rural women candidates are not getting endorsement dollars from the DFL, for example, because the DFL is concerned that women candidates still cannot win in Greater Minnesota. So these women are unifying around their own mutual aid support, informally dubbed the People's Potluck Party. As we talk about regularly at First Unitarian Society, there is a lot for humans to do, and part of our purpose is to simply keep doing it. I published an essay recently by Joan Redwing that included this nugget. Quote, "The remarkable thing about the United States is not that our institutions are perfect. It is that generation after generation, we continue debating how to make them better. Democracy has always been an unfinished project." I'll close this compilation of perspectives about a few ways we could more emphatically declare together what to rebuild by slightly adapting a quote from George Orwell's novel 1984. Quote, "In the long run, a hierarchical society was only possible on a basis of poverty and ignorance. There is deliberate policy to keep even the favored groups somewhere near the brink of hardship, because a general state of scarcity increases the importance of small privileges and thus magnifies the distinction between one group and another. War is waged by each ruling group against its own subjects to keep this scarcity structure of society intact. The consent of the governed works best in unity with values clearly and loudly stated to create a democracy that lives up to the potential our founders envisioned 250 years ago. Toward this end, on a more personal front, the good news is that I have begun the transition of Minnesota Women's Press ownership to a consumer-owned media co-op that I'm building with people. We will continue to online showcase people power voices supported by Minnesotans rather than simply by a dwindling supply of advertisers. It is people power that can reshape governments and impact corporate management, and the role of Minnesota Women's Press will continue to be to amplify the power of those voices. Some of the People's Power agenda that I talked about here just now will be part of that ongoing content development agenda. Let me know what else needs to be added to this agenda. That is what I hope the country's pioneering consumer-owned media co-op can provide as a communications tool. Thank you.
Good morning. As Shelley said, I'm focusing on the little part, the very small part of the declaration. We're trying to find a new way because the old way is not working. Although I will say that reading that list of complaints against King George seems pretty much like reading off of today's newspaper. So you may have seen this page developed by the American Humanist Association Center for Education called the 10 Commitments to provide a secular ethical framework for daily living as a response to the 10 Commandments. I recently, in an OLLI class, came across a book that is kind of a response to the Bill of Rights. And so I wanted to talk about that today as a way that we can maybe move forward to build our more nearly perfect union. Quoting from the Council on Foreign Relations webpage, so that I don't have to reinvent it, the Council on Foreign Relations former President Richard Haass offers a guide of how we must reinvent citizenship if American democracy is to survive in a book called The Bill of Obligations, The 10 Habits of Good Citizens. In the Bill of Obligations, Haass argues that for American democracy to survive, or better yet thrive, the very idea of citizenship must be revised and expanded. Haass's solution is to place obligation on an equal footing with rights. The 10 obligations that Haass introduces here are essential for healing our divisions and safeguarding the country's future. They re-envision what is meant to be an American citizen, and they represent commitments that we make to fellow citizens and to the country to uphold democracy and counter the growing apathy, anger, selfishness, division, disinformation, and violence that threaten us all. The first half of the book is devoted to rights and their limits and the cause and consequences of the democratic deterioration. The second half introduces 10 obligations for good citizenship that, if adopted by U.S. citizens, would go a long way towards ameliorating issues. So that's the end of the quote. So here they are. I'm going to give a short paragraph after each one because we're running pretty late. Number 1, be informed. We need to understand how the government and economy work and our history, which allow us to vote and to interact with officials and hold them accountable. Reading foundational documents and listening to reputable news sources help us to know the difference among facts, misstatements, opinions, and recommendations. Number 2, get involved. Of course, voting is fundamental and helping other citizens vote is crucial. One can be an election judge and support candidates with your time and money. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Number 3, stay open to compromise. Compromise is essential to getting things done in a democracy and keeps differing parties talking over time. Building broad support for decisions make them less likely to be overturned. What is gained must be equal to or greater than what is given up, and we seem to think that any compromise is bad. We should hold fast to the fundamental principles, but find room to compromise in the scope and pace of change. Work for a deal that can be negotiated over no deal at all. So compromise has to be defended and explained if it is to be received well. Number 4, remain civil. Civility is essential and is trust over cynicism. Civility allows differences to be reduced or bridged. As UUs, we believe in treating others with dignity and respect, the right of free expression, so we're right there on that one. Number 5, reject violence. We have an obligation to accept the legitimacy of the process and that no particular issue merits undermining the value of the political system as a whole. Rather than violence, consider civil disobedience, but be willing to accept the penalties involved. A fair and responsive system requires an active free press. Number 6, value norms. Norms are the unwritten traditions and rules that reduce friction in a society. They are related to the spirit and intent of the law, but generally cannot be written into law. Examples of norms are giving to charity, telling the truth, accepting election results as legitimate. Officials should not use government processes to their advantage or personal gain. That's a norm we should be living with. Number 7, promote the common good. We all have a stake in the well-being of society. Maximizing individual autonomy and minimizing government intervention cannot come at the expense of the collective welfare. Examples include indoor smoking bans and vaccination efforts. Past instances of inequality need to be considered, but in a manner that minimizes grievances. If you offend the people you are trying to convince, it's harder to convince them. Number 8, respect government service. We have morphed into a distrust of government on both sides of the political divide. Our reaction to imperfect government should be to create a more perfect government, not no government. We should aspire to have the best and brightest working for the government and consider making government service more common and therefore better known to citizens by incentivizing service. Perhaps we could build a civilian climate corps. Number 9, support the teaching of civics. This is my big one. Civics education supports our collective identity of what it means to be a citizen in the United States. Civics courses should be required in high school and college to teach habits, rights, and obligations of democracy. Number 10, and final one, put country first. Putting the country and democracy ahead of party or person is an essential element of patriotism and requires character and virtue. Haas exhorts us to think institutionally, subordinating short-term considerations to long-term health of the institution with a higher loyalty to the law and the success of the country. Members in power must also act for the interest of the country, but will do it only if they are held to account by citizens and what used to be called the loyal opposition. Remember when they talked about that in the British government? You could count on both sides. Haas concludes that American democracy will endure only if obligations join rights as the core of a widely held understanding of citizenship to encourage behaviors, norms, relationships, and arrangements that will buttress our democracy. Citizens have to demand that those who vote for citizens have to demand that those they vote for embrace these obligations. If we have to be a one-issue voter, we should place supporting democracy at the center. Take a stand on behavior. Our obligation is to leave the institution of democracy in better shape than we received it. So I stand here before you in my 4th of July and election judge shirt that I wear only 2 to 3 times a year, in the hopes that we may move closer to that perfect union that we are striving for. Thank you.
Well, we're going to sing again, and you're likely familiar with the song that we're going to sing, "This Land Is Your Land." But my guess is you're familiar with one version of it, and we're going to sing a second version. So many of us have grown up singing this song. Many of us think perhaps it should be our national anthem. But this seemingly patriotic song is also inherently radical. Bruce Springsteen once called it the greatest song ever written about America, adding that it gave voice to the promise of what our country was supposed to be about. So Woody Guthrie penned the words in 1940, but he recorded 2 versions. The version we're familiar with was recorded second and omits one of the more pointed stanzas on social commentary. The version we're going to sing is actually the one that's included at the Library of Congress. But I do want to read for you a stanza that he penned. He did not record it, and we're not going to sing it this morning because it's rather challenging to sing. But the stanza is, "In the shadow of the steeple I saw my people. By the relief office I seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me?" So I now invite you to stand in body or in spirit to sing "This Land Is Your Land." Paul will lead us. The words will be on the screen, and as I said, including a stanza likely unfamiliar to many of us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Martens, and I'm currently the chair of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she and her, and I've been around for a while. We came here when my kids were little, and we stayed for the community and the kids program and the music and making the world a better place and all of those things. And I'm here to talk about supporting this congregation, which is the proud birthplace of congregational humanism. Our mission here at First Unitarian Society is to foster a free search for knowledge and meaning, to strive for justice, and to serve one another, the Twin Cities, and beyond. Your gifts make it possible for us to put our mission and our aspirations into practice. By supporting the congregation financially, you can use your energy to make a positive difference in the world. There are many ways to give. If you're not prepared to give right now, you can always stop by the office or mail in your donation. You can use the QR code on the screen, which will take you to our online giving form, where you can designate how you'd like your donation used. As the baskets are passed, you're invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. Thank you.
Well, now for a few announcements. And I'd like to begin with a word of gratitude from Rev. Yulin. Thank you also very much for all the love you shared this past Sunday. I was surprised, tickled, moved, and verklempt, all at once. I am so grateful for each of you. And do remember that while I'll be around in a limited way in July, I'm still on call. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need support. So that's from Rev. Yulin. So if you are ready to learn more about FUS and explore our pathway to membership, join today's half-hour welcome session beginning at 12:15 in room 307, which is just the first room to the left as you go outside the door, with our membership director, Bug. Today and next Sunday, July 12th, we're collecting snack items for the Emerson School ESL Summer Camp Program. Please bring your donations, shelf-stable donations like graham crackers, powdered lemonade or Gatorade, fruit snacks, goldfish, etc. Leave them, bring them to FUS, and I believe that there will be boxes in the hallway. So big news about our mini forest, it's moving ahead. The Climate Action Team is thrilled that next week a small crew from the Minneapolis City Forestry Department will be preparing our Groveland Terrace hillside for the tree planting. And the festivities will happen on Saturday, November 7th. I know that's a ways away, but mark your calendars. You can read more about the plan from the new Climate Action Team blog post. And FUS is participating in a Monarcha Democracy Defense Training Session on July 15th. I believe that's a Thursday. And it will be at First Universalist Church. More information is in the Friday update, as well as the registration link. Also, FUS has a group supporting this effort. They want to learn more about your values, concerns, and hopes, and build a robust relational network here at FUS to address the challenges we may face. They're having a series of one-on-one, 30 to 45-minute conversations to build this understanding and relationships. If you are interested in this, contact Jay Elkerton via the Friday update announcement, and Jay is here this morning as well. So after assembly, for those in the building, please join us downstairs for conversation and our weekly mini meal. We have a donation jar for mini meal donations, or you can scan a QR code. If you are a visitor or food insecure, please be our guest. Today's mini meal is cornflake crusted chicken, potatoes O'Brien, mixed greens with citrus vinaigrette, coleslaw, and agua fresca. So there end the announcements. Well, as Jackie comes to extinguish our chalice, please join me in speaking the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. So our closing words come from a poem by Lucas Heggard, Democracy's Benediction. We are democracy, unruly, unfinished, unrelenting. People of rebellious joy taking to the streets, underground resilience, resisting complacency, the pleasure of activism organizing into simple hope. We are democracy. People of principles taking on principalities, witnessing the worth of those called unworthy, justice just now gaining ground, integrity of interdependent existence extending living democracy in heads, hands, and hearts. We know that democracy can die, ossify, brittle byproducts of bygone idealists, plotting politicians, pirating votes, corporations cannibalizing our care for the world. Look, it can wither, distend, come to an end. Democracy. Today, we will love you alive, make you ours, make you thrive, and vote as though our hope is on the line. So may it be.
Song about